All right. So I'm Leo Ocampo from the University of Santo Tomas in Manila, and I'm going to talk about Catholic liturgical teleparticipation before, during the pandemic, and questions for the new normal. Something that ties up with a lot of the presentations this evening. Actually, this article can be read already in full in the most recent uh, issue of religion and social communication. So if you wanted more details, you can just read it up in religion and social communication. But anyway, let me just uh, give you the gist of my article so you can whet your appetite, and probably I can seduce you to read the article in the journal and to read the journal itself, which has a lot of good articles about the pandemic, not to mention the tribute to Father Eilers as well. So it's a very good issue. Thank you to Father Anthony, and congratulations to ARC. But anyway, I begin with Saint Clare. No, it is said, yes, oh, aren't they? Uh, wait, let me redo it. Uh-huh. Wait, it says here. Does it come out now? All right. So let me start with Saint Clare. By the way, here's the cover of the recent issue of Religion and Social Communication. So let's start with Saint Clare. It is said that one Christmas night, Saint Clare was too sick. No, so there's that element of sickness similar to COVID-19, but of course she didn't have COVID, but she was isolated and she was bedridden. So basically, she could not attend mass. The element of isolation is there, distance from the sacraments, and what she experienced was she wanted so much to attend the mass in the nearby church, and maybe pitying her state, the Holy Spirit projected the Mass into the wall of her convent so that she could see it vividly before her eyes, as if she was there in person. So that is how the experience was described, as if she was there in person. So you have also the element of immersiveness, no, in this particular miracle, so to speak, which earned her the patronage of television as declared by Pius XII eventually. No? So we have that miracle in the 13th century. Now, fast forward, no, let's look at teleparticipation and how it evolved. Of course, that's the supernatural TV. Let's look now at the human TV. So pre-pandemic, we had film and radio coming in 1895, no, television in 1927. I'll just give you the dates. No, and how did the church adopt this, the Catholic Church? Now, in 1931, we had the first radio blessing on the occasion of the blessing of Radio Vaticana. No, and at least in the documents, there was an official welcome. But Father Eilers tells us that even during that time, there was actually an initial reticence on the part of theologians. I don't know if this will be interesting to Ma'am Daniela, but for example, Karl Rahner did not want liturgies to be broadcast because he believed that this belonged to the arcane discipline of the church. Now, only the baptized were supposed to be introduced to these things. No, so broadcasting them unnecessarily exposed them to those who do not believe. No, imagine you are streaming the mass on YouTube. Someone who does not really believe it might watch it and ridicule it. No, so it becomes open for sacrilege. There were those concerns even at the start. So pre-pandemic, we had that, and of course, in your own dioceses and parishes, what was the situation? Here in the Philippines, at least I can say, initially we were limited to radio and Sunday TV masses. No, we did not have online masses, except as far as I know, we only had in in Manila at least four shrines. But even then, it was not very popular. No, while the world already had internet starting in 1969, the internet was barely explored, at least for liturgical use. The church was using it for web pages. We were using email. We had some form of social networks. No, the bishops had their blogs. Even the Pope has his Twitter. No, but we did not see online masses in this scale before the pandemic. What we had in the form of liturgical broadcast was usually just radio or televised masses, but even the televised masses were canned. Now, the pandemic came and it took us by surprise. So even the world had to shift. So many sectors of the world had to shift online, not just faith community. So industry shifted, education shifted. Now we have a number of teachers here. Many of us were not really doing online yet before, or maybe we were doing it only partially, but all of a sudden we had to do it almost completely. No, even businesses, they had to migrate online, or else they died out, no, because of the lockdowns. Now, what was the church response? No, initially, the bishop's response was to suspend the precept of obligation. So you are not obliged to go to mass. But it went on, and there was a spiritual hunger. So they were in a quandary, should we replay the canned TV masses? And there were those who did that. No, but the canned TV masses, if you saw them during the pandemic, they look so out of touch with reality. There was one local station here in the Philippines who showed a Christmas mass. The people did not have their face masks on, no, and during the sign of peace, they hugged each other. Kenneth is smiling. Maybe he knows the producer of the mass. No, so it's clearly out of touch. No, in the homily, there's no reference to what is going on. No, so it violates everything that we know should be present in a canned, no, not a canned, no, in a broadcast liturgy. No, that it should still connect with the reality of the people. This one, remote, no, because really it was canned from 2 or 3 years ago because they could not can because of the lockdown. No? And then there was the question of the daily masses because there were no canned televised daily masses. No? Usually the TV masses were only Sunday masses. So how to respond to those who desire to have a daily mass? So there you have the online masses. No, and my argument is the online masses actually brought liturgical broadcast to a whole new level. Now, if you will use the Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, Web 4 language, no, radio and TV masses are at the most Web 1 or at the most maybe Web 2 if you broadcast them on social media. No, but the online masses, well, for one, it's not just a plain broadcast. If you live stream it on Facebook, like what we are doing now with our conference, no, even if it's just on Facebook or on YouTube, you get the number of viewers. So you realize that there are at least 5 of you, maybe you are attending Mass, or 20, or in the case of the Manila Cathedral, as the first presentation showed, there are so many of you attending. So even if it's just a number, there is a sense of community. It's very Web 2. No? It's a small thing, no? But in a time of pandemic where community is very important, it's a big thing. Web 3 also, no, the user sensitivity, because of the algorithms, those who were always attending Mass would find that they are being, their social media, because they always click on the masses, no, are being fed with masses, with consoling posts, with spiritual thoughts. No? So it was a very consoling experience. And that is why the online masses also became popular because the social media entities themselves, the platforms, sense that actually, at least here in the Philippines, in our experience, the people were picking it up. No? It was something that mattered to the people. Later, I'll show you the statistics for the Philippines. And actually, with that kind of technology,
Leo, I just want to
yes,
remind you that you have about 10 minutes left only,
yes,
so you might want to skip to the meaty part of your presentation.
yes, Father. I'll take care of the time. So actually, with the kind of technology we have, we can even have Web 4, no Zoom Mass, where the lectors can participate, no, and then some possibility even of receiving communion. So you participate in Zoom, and then you receive communion in the car park or in the drive-through, no, or the communion can be brought to your house. So it's something unthought of, no, before the pandemic. Now, what happens to the post-pandemic? No? But before we go there, here's the meaty part. No? So the distance has been dying, no, but the church is not really, at least in theory, in support of this death of distance. Now, the stand of the church is very clear, as you can see in the post which came out when the lockdowns were easing. Virtual celebrations are devotional and not sacramental. So just imagine all that thing that the first presenters were like very excited about, simbayan, doing so much. That's nothing to officially. No, it doesn't hold water. No, the church is very clear. Virtual reality is no substitute for the real presence of Christ. There are no sacraments on the internet. No, I'm thinking of the kid of Ma'am Daniela, no, with all those toys, no. Even if she had an experience of the sacred, no, mystagogy and all, in the official mind of the church, even the religious experiences like this possible there are insufficient. That's the official wording. No, church and internet is the name of the document, which looks very detached from our experience. You know, in the Philippines, in January 2001, the top trending keyword on Facebook was faith, faith-related words. This is according to data statistics. Now, the second greatest influencer was not the Manila Cathedral, Quiapo Church. So you can imagine the physical church is empty because of the lockdown, but actually there are more people attending there because of the online. Even in the Vatican, I think Ma'am Keng mentioned a while ago that Urbi et Orbi of Pope Francis, no? So many watching. It was an empty square, but so many were actually tuned in, no? And in his daily masses, no, as many as 6,000 viewers in that small chapel in Santa Marta. No, how can you cram 6,000 viewers there? But see, even the Pope, no, has this to say about online masses. He says, I say this because someone made me reflect, no, about the danger brought about by this moment. The pandemic that has made us communicate through the media, even in matters of religion. So he says, in this mass, we are all communicating. No? We are together, spiritually together. The people present are few, but there are many people attending, but they are not together. This is Pope Francis speaking. No, even when it comes to the sacrament that you are receiving, no, the people who are connected, they can have spiritual communion, but it's not communion, it's not the Eucharist. And this isn't the church. No, this is the church in a difficult situation. No, but not the church. So there's a disconnect apparently, no? And actually, even the Holy Father, he was very reluctant to have his online masses. He had to be persuaded. And the soonest that he could discontinue the online masses, he discontinued them. No, and the soonest they returned to the Eucharist with joy. So what were the online masses? They were not Eucharist, at least in the mind of the hierarchy. No, the real Eucharist is only the face-to-face. Let us return to the Eucharist with joy. And so what we had is not Eucharist. So there is the problem that I would like to face. And as I think, as the earlier presenters mentioned, I think it was Dr. Daniela who said, this is a space for conversation. There's a very fertile theological ground here. No? Do we make sense of online masses? Do we slowly break the ice? No? Do we open up the mind of the church about it? No? Or do we go back to the pre-pandemic? Or do we go back to the old normal? because at least, no, in the mind of the official documents, that's the invitation. Let's go back to the Eucharist with joy. So we will not continue the online mass anymore, even if it is significantly better than the radio and the Can Sunday TV masses. Now, we're not saying it will replace the Eucharist face to face, no, but it could be explored for, say, sick people, prisoners, no, cannot go to mass, those who have soldiers, no, for those situations, those who are unable to attend the mass, and there's a clamor for it. No, when the Pope was about to change to discontinue his masses, there was a lot of clamor for it to continue, but it was not continued. Now, just to start the conversation, I also wrote another article in Landa, nation of the question. And again, it's an open question, I think. No, something for us in this field of religion and social communication, especially the Catholics, can mull about. No? Here I address three common objections to the online mass, which came from Francis himself. No? The first objection is there is no community. But my argument is there can be some community. No? And you can, I will not spoil the fun. No? You can find the article. No? It's in Landas 33. It's 2019 because Landas is a little late. No? I'm not a prophet. It's just that they're late in publishing. So it's still 2019. Then we have the body in the liturgy. No? That's one other common objection. Because in the mind of the church, virtual does not involve the body, does not involve persons, but they don't realize I am a body now speaking here in Manila to you. You are all bodies listening to me. No, so even if our round table is virtual, we are present. No, and we are in our bodies. No, and even that computer is part of the cosmos. No, and even though you cannot pour holy oil and let it go through the digital highways, no, I wonder, even if you put it in a sachet, no, there are obvious limitations. That's it, no. Eventually, you'll realize it cannot be the same thing, no. But what a waste if the original inspiration is lost, especially if the Lord does not seem to be against it. No, He did it for Saint Clare. No, why can't we retain some of the uh, advantages, no, the affordances, as the technical term would put it, no, at present. So that's the gist of my article. You can read it if you want, and hopefully, we can have more theological conversations about this. We can have more articles written about this. It's a very exciting field, and hopefully, we will not lose this altogether. Thank you very much, and thank you also to my fellow presenters.